So hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today at our second WELL event for 2021. I love WELL. WELL is just such an empowering, beautiful program that we've implemented and executed over the years, and it's just something that's incredibly gratifying. I am Melinda Yee Franklin. I'm chair of the board of directors for the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, and I'm the West Region Executive for Community Engagement and Corporate Responsibility at JPMorgan Chase. As I stated, the WELL program is the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce's intentional initiative to represent all genders at all levels and across all industries. Very ambitious, but definitely we're doing it. WELL is for all allies of gender equality and workplace inclusion. Over the past 4 years, we have posted a number of events, both large and small, to discuss topics that are important to women in the workplace. We've highlighted female thought leaders, offered resources on financial health, and created a community of like-minded supporters of empowering women in the workplace and beyond. As a female leader of the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce, I am so proud that the Chamber advocates for diversity and inclusion and allows for a space for us to support each other and to be heard. So I really, truly encourage all of you to ask questions today. We're going to have such a robust discussion with our incredible panelists. Now, I just want to remind our audience of a few housekeeping items before we get started. If you are interested in asking our speakers a question, please use the Q&A or chat features listed below, and we'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible at the end of the program. Now I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors of WELL and truly recognize their incredible contributions to us. Our title sponsor and good friends, special shout out to John Gingrich, one of our past chairs of the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce. Accenture has just been incredible to really stand up WELL over the years, as well as Blue Shield of California, Comcast, Visa, Alaska Airlines, BlackRock, Deloitte, Hanson and Bridget, Recology, AT&T, Fisher Phillips, Kaiser Permanente, the Golden State Warriors, Redwood Credit Union, and the San Francisco Department on the Status of Women. I am very, very humbled that you've all joined us to lean into a conversation with a wonderful woman, Luz Urrutia, CEO of Accion Opportunity Fund. Accion Opportunity Fund serves small business owners with a special focus on women-owned businesses and supports them in pivoting to survive through the pandemic, amongst other things. Luz is a recognized financial services pioneer and industry leader with a track record of leading change, bringing new solutions to market, investing in the future of consumers and small businesses, raising capital, and driving scale. Really the elements of what it is to make a successful business. Her career has been focused on financial services and to serving underserved populations across society, from underbanked immigrants to the previously banked to small business owners. We'll also hear today from Dianna Sison, a local client of Accion Opportunity Fund and truly one of the success stories of many who will join the conversation to share challenges and opportunities she faces as the Bay Area exits our lockdown, hopefully for good. Luz will introduce Dianna in just a bit. During this past year, we've all had to find new and different ways to connect with our communities here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm in the thick of it with my firm, JPMorgan Chase. I'm thrilled to be able to have this chat with you all today, virtually, and grateful to you all for showing up for our small businesses. It is so truly important. We'll reserve time at the end for a group conversation as well, but feel free to enter your questions into the chat in the meantime. And I truly encourage you to, because we just want to hear from you. We don't want this to just be amongst us girls. We want to hear from you as well. So please, please, let's dive right in. Luz, for those of you who are new to Accion, will you share who AOF is?
Sure. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you, Melinda, for that introduction, and thank you to the San Francisco Chamber for this great opportunity to be with you today. Your work to support businesses in San Francisco is incredibly valuable, particularly during this time. And to Melinda, we are deeply grateful for all the support that your firm provides, JP Morgan Chase, over the years, to organizations like ours, as well as to many community lenders. You make all of our work very, very possible. We, provide responsible and affordable capital to underserved entrepreneurs that have been left behind by the mainstream financial system. 90% of our clients are people of color, immigrants, and women. And we believe that when we give people a hand up, not a handout, great things can happen.
So let me ask you, Luz, let's talk about the pandemic. We're all living the dream here, as I say, it's been such a hard time for all of us. So tell us how the pandemic has disproportionately affected women entrepreneurs.
Sure. So, we all know, unfortunately, that millions of women, particularly those with children, right, were either pushed out of their jobs or were forced to downsize their careers, which has in turn spurred what many economists are now calling the world's first she-cession, which is incredibly tragic. And it really threatens to hobble a full post-pandemic economic recovery. And what we have seen is that there's no doubt, right, that COVID has threatened hard-fought progress that women have made towards an inclusive financial system. As I'm sure many of you have experienced firsthand, COVID has had especially a devastating impact on businesses owned by people of color and women entrepreneurs, especially women of color. The majority of women-owned businesses are in the service industries, such as restaurants, beauty, healthcare, and many had to shutter for months due to the shelter-in-place restrictions. And women-owned businesses, we know, are facing an unequal economic recovery. Nationally, only 22% of the PPP loans went to women entrepreneurs. And businesses run by entrepreneurs of color closed at a higher rate than businesses run by white entrepreneurs, Black, Latinx, Asian, etc. And so while COVID has been devastating to women in the workplace in so many ways, we have dropped out of the workforce in record numbers. We are still very confident that women will lead our economic recovery in many ways, like they did back in the Great Recession. Black women are starting businesses at a higher rate than any other demographic. And what we're hearing from our clients is that the chaos of this crisis has really forced them to rethink, to be creative, to completely re-envision and pivot their businesses. And we've also heard a lot about legacy, and I'm sure and curious if you all feel the same way. Many of us, and business owners are contemplating, what are we leaving behind? What's our legacy? And how can we build businesses with great cultures and with a positive social impact?
Yeah, thank you, Luz. So tell us specifically how Accion has pivoted to respond to that need. What were you doing before? What are you doing differently now to really adjust to our new world order?
Yeah, so, Melinda, early on, we recognized that businesses, particularly those owned by people of color and women, were not going to get the help and the resources that they needed. And that became very clear, at the beginning of the crisis. And so the first thing that we did, we launched a small business relief fund to ensure that we had the resources so that we can in turn support the 6,200 small businesses that are customers of Accion Opportunity Fund. And we're deeply grateful to the supporters, the investors, the donors, and the community that we have been able to help over 4,000 of those small businesses with either payment forgiveness, payment deferment on their loans, new loans. And we're going to hear from Deanna today on her situation. And I'm happy to report, this is the statistic that is so heartwarming to me, that 90% of the businesses that we supported are back on their feet and current on their loans. And it's really a beauty of the model, right? As I said, giving folks a hand up and not a handout. You know, once we approved to be a PPP lender, we jumped on it, and we partner with other organizations that support women, for example, with Grameen, to help their customers apply. We did about 2,200 PPP loans. The average loan size was $16,000. Imagine 2.5 months of salary, $16,000. So these were the very smallest businesses that needed the most help. 43% of our loans went to women-owned businesses. And, you know, we had people on the phone 24/7, just helping folks get through the process and just answering questions because people were really desperate looking for help. But what we also saw is that this crisis really has brought a lot of people together, including the institutions that are serving small businesses. A lot of new partnerships have been created, a lot of innovative programs to really help fill the capital void that small businesses have had and that are struggling the most. And we see tremendous potential for these programs to help reshape, you know, the lending landscape for small businesses going forward, particularly, again, businesses owned by people of color and women. And so when the crisis hit, you know, many of us recognized that community lenders were going to be sort of the economic first responders, and that we needed to get significant resources in the hands of every CDFI and other community lenders. And so we were part of setting, for example, the California Rebuilding Fund, which is a public-private sector partnership that is aggregating funds from different sources, including a commitment from the Economic Development Bank in California. And the initial capital that we raised was $42 million, not enough for the need. There's 4 million businesses in California. And in the first few weeks, we got about $600 million in requests for about 11,000 applications. So that gives you a sense of the magnitude of the need. There's 11 CDFIs, 10 CDFIs participating. We're looking to raise the second tranche. And, you know, what we've seen also is a lot of need for capital, but also for technical coaching, business advising, and other support networks. And in the last 12 months, we've supported over 12,000 entrepreneurs that have come online to our webinars, our one-on-one coaching and mentorship programs. And I would invite all of those listening to our website, aofund.org, and check out our resources page on our website. These are all free resources that are very helpful to get people, you know, moving through this pandemic. But as we move out of this crisis, we're really looking forward to scaling our support and our impact for the long term, where we can build a more inclusive financial system, you know, one that brings everyone along and provides people opportunities to chart their own path. And that's capital, that's financial coaching, technical assistance. The last thing I want to mention is we established a partnership with American Express, very committed to the, you know, supporting business owned by people of color and women. They have committed $40 million that we are starting to deploy into loans and other wraparound services with financial coaching and financial health programming. We also conducted about 100 hours of interviews with entrepreneurs of color to really understand, what do you need? Like, where are you and what can we do to help you? And what we learned is that, you know, particularly women and Black women were asking for, we need help talking to others who are in our situation. What are they doing and what have they learned that we can learn? So I would also invite you to share into the chat what resources would be the most important and most helpful as you think about rebuilding and recovering.
You are such an inspiration, Luz. I love that. Everything you said, so hands-on. You know, it's certainly cross-sectionality, as you and I have chatted before with my firm and others, and it's just beautiful that you're on the ground like that. My husband is actually a small business owner as well, and that PPP process was truly complicated. And it wasn't, you know, you really do need people to assist in that process and in a culturally sensitive with language skills and everything else to just get through that so nobody's left behind. And it sounds like you've just been instrumental in that whole process. So thank you on behalf of so many. Thank you for your work in that area. So
honored to be able to help our customers.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. So let me introduce our other special guest today, Dianna Sison. I know, I know this is going to be quite inspirational for all of us. I'd like to share a film to introduce Dianna. Dianna is passionate about how food can connect us across cultures and cuisines, and that's led her to found Little Skillet and Victory Hall and Parlor in San Francisco. To introduce her, we're going to show you this film, and again, an inspiration to all of us. And Luz and Dianna are certainly very close as well, and we'll have a great dialogue following the film. So let's roll that film.
I remember my mom being meticulous in the kitchen. No matter what was on the menu for the night, everything my mom cooked had to be authentic, true to form, and everything needed to add an experience that would make people feel warm and special. When I started my career, it was my mission to cultivate an experience that felt real, alive with soul, and something that shared that feeling of warmth and a nurturing spirit. Then overnight, that home I built was taken away. Staying afloat during this pandemic has been the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. I had to figure out how to solve a problem that felt so far beyond my control. I wasn't just trying to save what I had built over 12 years in business, but I wanted to ensure that my employees survived, that my kids were safe, and that we had a future. In the midst of this intense overwhelm, Accion Opportunity Fund ended up checking in on me. They helped me navigate the convoluted waters of the PPP loans, which ultimately gave us the space we needed to get creative. At Victory Hall, we started bottling our craft cocktails and selling them in our little retail store. At Little Skillet, we started doing delivery boxes. And at Mestiza, we focused on catering and providing meals to those fighting on the front lines. I'm starting to see life come back. Not as it was before, but the faces that I have missed for so long are starting to appear. Seeing the community I cultivated over all these years come back together is re-energizing. It's the hardship that makes us recognize what is really possible, and I've had to keep an open mind to that. Stay strong, keep the faith, and never stop hustling. We got this.
I just want to give you all a big hug.
Hello.
It's so beautiful. What a beautiful video, beautiful story. Yeah, tears in our eyes. Luz, before I kick it off with Dianna, do you want to say anything?
No, I'm okay. It's
I know.
hard not to, every time I watch this video, it's just, very emotional to see all that's happened and to see where she is today. You're a hero, my friend. You're a hero.
Thank you.
Yeah, neither of us can talk right now, so we're just gonna let you talk, Dianna.
Don't point to me, neither can I. It made me sad all over again.
No, it's beautiful, and I love it's interesting because at the City Beat breakfast, I said the same thing at the end. We got this, as a broader business community, and I have so much confidence that you got this as well for your restaurant. So Dianna Sison, she's here today to share her experiences navigating our restaurants through the pandemic and how things look today, as you saw in that video. So Deanna, welcome. Can you share into what your restaurants look like prior to COVID? So set the stage and where things stand now. What in your heart has kept you going just to get to the other side here?
Wow, it's been truly a crazy, crazy ride. But, prior to COVID, we were collectively between the three businesses, I think, doing about $4 million in sales and annual revenue.
Wow.
And then when COVID hit, it really was just a lot like falling off a cliff. I mean, all things just came to a screeching halt and all of our revenue sources just dried up instantly. And there was no up, there was no down. We had no real information. We didn't have a lot of guidance in those first few months. So it was really difficult. All of us had to make like a million decisions all at once. And it seemed like we were doing it pretty much blindfolded. That was really the true definition of overwhelm. And it just like watching that film made me feel it all over again. So, excuse me, now that I think that we're reemerging somewhat, and it's definitely a slow crawl out of this darkness, we're just all trying to piece things together. I think with the new administration, with the PPP program, a handful of small grants and just overall just easier access to capital has really allowed us to build this armory of resources to help us in our recovery. And I think for a lot of us, we've had to take on enormous debt, which means, we're committed, we're going to be around, and we have to stay committed in doing what we do to repay these debts. And, we've had that choice, do we take this on or do we fold? And for me, it was pretty clear that, this is what I've been doing. This is what I love to do. I have a tremendous community that I've built. And so I wanted to stay in it. And, the path is still a little bit dark, but having these resources really allows us the true option to make decisions. Whereas before you don't, it's either stay open or shut. Now, actually, we have ways that we can navigate a little bit easier, a little bit with a breath of relief to make proper decisions in order for us to stay in business, not just stay in business, but also to grow our business.
Well, thank you so much. And I know Luz and the Accion Opportunity Fund was able to help out with your loan payment schedule, amongst other things. Can you tell us what support was most useful during COVID and how you went about even knowing what to do when you had that feeling of helplessness? How did that relationship, did you already have the relationship, or where did you all come together, and how did that happen? Be an inspiration for others as well.
Oh yeah, and every time I have an opportunity to speak at these kinds of events, I take that opportunity because I think it's so vital that there's organizations like Opportunity Fund that are really advocating for small businesses, particularly those that are women-owned and minority-owned. So Opportunity Fund has helped me been in business now for about 13, 14 years. Over those years have helped me with access to resources. And I think they were one of the first organizations to actually reach out when pandemic hit. And that was really the biggest relief. Debt relief was the main thing that was really going to help us, because immediately you're thinking of all the things that you have to pay. Your business is shut and you only have about 2 weeks to maybe 4 weeks of runway. But you still have all these bills that you got to pay. You have to pay your employees. There's still a couple payrolls left. There's rent to pay. There's day-to-day utilities, operations, insurance, et cetera. And Opportunity Fund was one of the first to reach out to give us some form of debt relief for our loan repayments. So that was very helpful. And so, it's organizations like Accion Opportunity Fund that have really made a difference in my business journey.
Yeah, thank you again, Luz. Shout out to you and the firm. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so Deanna, you've now pivoted one of your restaurants, Mestiza Taqueria, into a purely catering business. So tell us about what influenced that decision, how adapting your business structure has helped it to survive.
I mean, catering was definitely just a natural direction without being able to be open to the public. We didn't really have much of a choice but to find another revenue stream, even if it was small to begin with. We could still use our kitchen, we could still use our staff, we could still produce food. We just couldn't deliver it in the ways that we were normally used to. And fortunately, what really helped us was being able to partner with organizations to help feed those with food insecurity, those on the front lines, seniors, and other populations during pandemic. So, with the catering, we were able to serve probably thousands of meals to these different organizations, and that really helped us stay afloat.
Yeah, I heard that discussion in the video. Tell us a little bit about that with the workers and the front line, the nonprofits you helped. How did that all transpire?
I think that, in the beginning, it just seemed like a really brilliant idea to bridge the need of those with food insecurities with the need of the small business to stay operating. And, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of kitchens across the city with very able-bodied and willing people to come and support and help feed those in need, which was a win-win situation for all of us. So thankfully, there are a lot of organizations like SF New Deal, Filipino Feeds the Front Lines, Great Plates, through organizations like Off the Grid and so on and so forth, that really bridge that need amongst business owners and people with food insecurity.
Well, thank you. To me, just an incredible service to our community, frankly, to be able to do that and to help people. So the Chamber of Commerce estimates that half of restaurants in San Francisco were not conducting any business during the pandemic. What are the long-term effects of COVID on the restaurant industry from your perspective, and small businesses in general in the city? How do you see this, just you being an example of how this is impacting us as a whole?
It's really hard to say, and I think the effects are still to be seen. On the positive side, I think that well, first let me say, like during pandemic, I think it made a lot more sense for businesses to go into hibernation mode versus trying to spend a lot of energy maintaining their business and keeping open. And now that we're sort of reemerging, I think that there's a lot of, this is the positive side, there's a lot of innovation, creativity, the way that we're approaching operations, doing things a lot differently and not just sticking to a traditional restaurant model. So I think that is really exciting. On the not so positive side, I think we're seeing a lot of businesses leave San Francisco. I think it's not a secret that San Francisco is maybe one of the hardest places to do business. It's expensive. There's a lot of prohibitive city mandates, challenges with permitting, that coupled with the high cost of rents and trying to maintain a workforce that can barely afford to live here. I mean, all those things really contribute to a very, very challenging landscape. So I think amongst a lot of my peers, it's, we've all probably considered moving to different places that might be a little bit friendlier and easier for us to actually sustain our businesses and our communities. And a lot of us have decided to stay here and stick it out. We love the city. We love serving our communities, and we love how unique San Francisco is. I think, we're all just forced to really consider the cost of doing business here. And I think it's amazing, that, with the leadership, organizations, and a lot more recognition going to small businesses and understanding that they are truly the vitality of our cities. That's reassuring. And so that's something that really gives me a lot of hope. I think that, we're small businesses are the lifeblood. We're emerging a lot stronger, a lot more resilient, and that's one positive effect that I've seen as everything is stripped away. Like, who's remaining and who's going to stick it out and fight it out. So that gives me hope.
Yeah, thanks, Deanna. I could unpack a lot of what you said, and this is a top agenda for the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce to really fight and be an advocate for small businesses, and certainly agree with you on all the challenges of doing business in the city. And we're on the front lines, and businesses like yours really matter. And thank you for sticking it out as we continue on here. We may bring you to City Hall with us someday. So I also wanted to encourage others to please keep putting your questions into chat. We're going to open it up in a minute here. I have one final question for Deanna before we open it up to our audience. In the film, you talk about feeling like life is coming back, a truly inspirational phrase for all of us. So tell us about what gives you hope as you recover personally and professionally from this pandemic. How do you see that rainbow at the end of the tunnel? What are you seeing in your mind?
I mean, I was just even looking at that film, and when pandemic hit, and we have so many layers of customers and community that we've built, and all of that was completely stripped away. And so the first to when we were doing this video, and I'm looking around at all those faces. Those are my customers, those are my peers, those are friends that I've known that have supported my business over the years. And that's really heartwarming. So I think that there is this underlying strength of the community that really does support one another and support small business. And I think that's what's really going to carry us through, is just our local communities. So yeah, that's really hopeful, and that gives me a lot of assurance that we'll get there eventually.
Yes, we will. We're on the right road. We're on track. So I wanted to bring Luz back in to the screen, please. And I'm going to ask a few questions that have come in from our audience. Hey, Luz. We're all so inspired. I'm so inspired. Thank you to both of you. So the first question came in from Linda. How will your business model change in the future, considering health and safety guidelines? And that's obviously directed towards Deanna.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We're being very cautious. So Little Skillet was the one business that stayed in operation. We didn't miss a day. We didn't close. And that was built on strictly a takeout and delivery model. And that's been okay. That's definitely helped us survive. And we have not yet opened Victory Hall. So we're considering that. That's actually a really great question. And we haven't been quick to reopen because we wanted to allow ourselves some time to really think about the safety, especially for our customers, but also for our employees. So we haven't quite figured it out. I think that will probably limit our occupancy. And we'll still, we invested in the shared spaces program and built an outdoor area. So I think we're going to keep it mostly outdoors for now. Mestiza will just stay doing catering for the time being. And, I think we'll see how things evolve like later into the year and closer to the holidays, maybe even after the holidays, feel comfortable again to allow folks into our dining room at full capacity. So we'll see. It's still a wait and see kind of game.
Yeah, you have to be flexible, right? I love that shared spaces program, by the way. I mean, walk
Yeah.
around the city a lot, and I've eaten at a couple of the or several of shared spaces facilities, and it's been really a great experience as long as it's
Yeah,
not too
great
cold.
program. Great
I always bring a jacket. So, Liz, I know you answered this online, but I wanted to share the question with the audience. So, and if you don't mind answering it for all of us, does the Accion Opportunity Fund work with entrepreneurs across all industries or only specific ones?
In terms of lending, pretty much most industries. There might be some that we don't lend to, and for example, gambling and things like that. But for the most part, we lend into every industry. And then on our financial health and programming, business advising, coaching, yes, we work with businesses in all industries and across the nation as well.
That's beautiful. Great. How many states are you in?
45 states.
Oh, wow. Impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to help you get to those other 5 states. What are they? Where are you not? Vermont? No, I don't know. Where are you not located?
Well, actually, in the places that we're not is because the business environment is really hard and really restrictive for us to do lending. And so that's why we're not in those lending states, but we're in the, pretty much where
Yeah,
the
pretty much around
target
the
populations are. Yeah.
Yeah, got it. That's great. My firm is in 48 states. So we'll
Yeah.
compare notes and see where,
Yeah.
where we're not. So let me get on to another question for Dianna. Then this is from Megan. Do you foresee the partnerships formed around food insecurity continuing beyond pandemic times?
I certainly hope so. I mean, I think that serving, in that way of food production was really different for us. And it was, we were, just thinking about as we were preparing and packing, hundreds of meals at a time, looking at dietary restrictions and just the list of people in all the neighborhoods that have food insecurity. It gave me a different perspective. So I think that as long as there are organizations that can bridge that logistical challenge of bringing the small business food entrepreneurs to the folks that need it, I will always participate. I think it's such a wonderful thing to be a part of.
Yeah, I totally agree. When we can and getting your employees to be part of that whole infrastructure too is just, I think it's rewarding and gratifying for all involved to help each other.
Absolutely.
So let me ask a question from Lori to both of you. We'll start with you, Luz. The biggest hurdles today and what you're doing, where are you running into some pain points, and is there anything any of us can do to be helpful, and what are those things? And I'll follow up that with Dianna as well.
I think is making small businesses aware of the resources that they have through organizations like Accion Opportunity Fund, community development, financial institutions, right? We're nonprofits as well. And so we don't have significant budgets to market and put our name out there, but being able to know that community development, financial institutions and community lenders can really support these very small businesses that really don't have access to capital and the resources that they need to survive. And that there's always a place where you can go and get help. There's a lot of grant programs. There's a lot of lending programs. The California Rebuilding Fund is one of them. What we do at Accion Opportunity Fund, go on our website and look at our resources. That's one big thing. How can we get our services more out there for small businesses to find about them? And then, the resources that we need so that we can continue to help. So loan capital is a big one. And then, donations so that we can continue to deploy the capital and the services to the communities.
Well, I hope with the San Francisco Chamber and visibility opportunities like today are super helpful.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we'll go viral.
Yes.
For not only the people who are on today, but we certainly we will be having this within our site and just hopefully be able to reach quite a few people who wouldn't have known otherwise about Accion and all the great work you're doing. So Dianna, how would you answer that question? Pain points now, and what more help you need?
Well, just something to add to that too, you know, and getting the word out, because there's a tremendous amount of immigrant-owned businesses that also not only have a language barrier to try to access these resources, but even just a time barrier, like just having the time to step out of the business and to find these resources can be really hard. And so I can only imagine, you know, I'm so grateful that I was able to uncover the resource of what Accion Opportunity Fund offers along my journey. And so, you know, like whatever I can do to help spread that word, I always do. And so that was one interesting thing during pandemic. You know, there's a huge network of folks that would share, post, you know, send personal text. Do you know about this program? Do you know about this? Like, find out about that. And that's really important to keep doing. I think if I could just, you know, advocate for some of these small businesses, for everyone to just keep on sharing those resources. And then, you know, I think personally and for the business, some of the pain points are, you know, what now that we're piecing things together, what will be the right decisions? How are we going to use the resources that we have in a way that will be sustainable? How can we pay back these debts that we have acquired? What are the right moves? And in that way, like the technical assistance, I think can be really helpful in the recovery mode. Some of us, like, how do we even account for these grants if we're getting them? How do we, you know, account for the loans? So it's just really trying to, the analytics, I think the financial side, how do we treat the PPP loans if they're forgiven? There's all these like technical financial questions that remain. And so I think that might be a pain point as we're getting deeper into recovery, how we, you know, get on top of all of that.
Yeah, and hopefully Accion can help provide some of that technical assistance.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because those are pretty heavy duty questions. I know what you're saying when you're trying to run your own business and then all these programs, I mean, it can be overwhelming because you're just trying to stay alive, right? And so let alone having to deal with all these other complicated financial questions and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, just even, you know, having the access to even with technology, like being able to just be on top of everything and be able to follow up and get onto the portals. It wasn't easy. It definitely wasn't easy. So I can only imagine if there's anything other than just, you know, even just with the language barrier, how difficult that could be for business owners.
So one final question. How can San Francisco residents be helpful to small businesses? I'm going to name some resources at the conclusion of this program of things that we support, great programs we support at the Chamber. But from both of your perspectives, what more can a person who's living in San Francisco, other than patronize your businesses, and anything else that you can think of how we all collectively can be helpful to your success? And I'll start with Dianna and then go to Luz.
I think really patronizing, you know, that's the obvious one. I think directly going to the restaurant and patronizing the restaurant directly, not through a delivery platform or a third-party platform, that means everything. You know, daily sales, that's what we're looking for, and that's what keeps us being able to pay our employees the next day and the next day and the next day. So I think just, you know, really going to your local neighborhood, small businesses and supporting them is still the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't want to get into the third party platform. I think that does cut into your profits, right? You know, bottom line.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Okay. And then Luz, yes, please, Luz, any
you know,
comments on that? Yeah.
Gift cards, right? So if you're still not comfortable getting out, you know, shop for gift cards that you can use later. The holidays are coming, so, you know, getting gift cards. And always, you know, I'm very particular about every time I go to a business to leave a review, right? And give visibility. especially when you get service, because we hear and call people out by name, and I think those are very important. And then, there are a lot of nonprofits in the city of San Francisco that, every dollar counts, and they're helping communities in need. And without those resources, it's really hard to do it. So.
Well, thank you both for joining us. Luz, before I close, can you please tell us how businesses can access AOF's resources? I know you said go on the website, but anything else you'd like to say in conclusion before we wrap here?
No, just, we host a lot of webinars in English and in Spanish. We have a lot of articles, business advising services, and they are all free. And so, take advantage of this free resources. The website aofund.org. Always follow us on social media because we always are talking about what grants, mentoring, what resources and opportunities are out there, either through us or through our community partners. And we love to promote our clients. That's what keeps all of us going. So love to share your stories. That's also free advertising for you. And if you want, subscribe to the Accion Opportunity Fund newsletter on our website and really reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to find a way to help if you need help.
I think, Luz, you and I should meet for coffee at one of Dianna's restaurants. Actually, let's just have a whole meal.
Done.
We're on
Let's
it.
plan it. Let's plan it.
Well, thank you to both of you. So I'm going to give brief closing remarks and then we'll call it a wrap. So again, thank you to our sponsors and a big shout out to our title sponsor, Accenture. Make sure that you keep an eye out for our 4th annual WELL conference later this fall. Thank you again for joining us and supporting one another. This year, the San Francisco Chamber will continue to focus our efforts to redefine and revitalize the Bay Area's economic core neighborhoods. We will pay particular attention to communities of color, women, and underserved communities. Our plan has 3 major objectives: to achieve a deeper understanding of the issues impacting the Bay Area's economic recovery and workforce, to implement solutions to drive local growth and create economic opportunity, and to generate support for these proposals through an ongoing public awareness campaign. We're just going to keep shouting out organizations like the Accion Opportunity Fund and like Dianna's restaurants. Programs that will be enhanced and highlighted include the expansion of our WELL program, Small Business Week, our Small Business Help Desk, entrepreneurial training, Asian and Pacific Islander hate and economic recovery, Black-owned and Latinx business support, Unite Bay Area, our educational partnership, and a hospitality retraining initiative. Our small business initiative is supported by my firm, JP Morgan Chase, Accenture, BlackRock, Visa, LinkedIn, Lyft, Recology, Gensler, and KPMG, some of the largest and most prominent companies in the city. Small business is truly the backbone of our economy, and the San Francisco Chamber of Commerce will be relentless in our efforts to support small businesses to thrive once again. So please make sure to visit sanfranciscochamber.com to learn about our upcoming events in the near future. We have a San Francisco Chamber Mixer on July 27th. We have the Build SF webinar featuring the Port of San Francisco on August 5th. We have our Bay Shelf Gala that's going to honor outstanding sports heroes on October 14th. And we have our 30th annual Excellence in Business Awards on October 28th. And that includes a prominent San Francisco small business owner as well. So thank you again for joining us today. Enjoy your weekend, and let's make small businesses thrive again in our city by the Bay. Thank you so much.